Welcome to Bedtime Stories for Grownups. Today's story is from Chicken Soup for the Soul, the 10th Anniversary Special Edition, entitled One at a Time. It was a bleak, rainy day, and I had no desire to make the drive from the beach to the cold mountain at Lake Arrowhead where my daughter Caroline lived. A week earlier, she had called and insisted that I come to see the daffodils some woman had planted at the top of the mountain. So here I was, reluctantly making the 2-hour journey. By the time I saw how thick the fog was on the winding road toward the summit, it was too far to go back, so I inched my way up the perilous rim of the world highway to my daughter's home. "I'm not driving another inch," I announced. "I'll stay and have lunch, but as soon as the fog lifts, I'm heading back down." "But I need you to drive me to the garage to pick up my car," Caroline said. "Can't we at least do that?" "How far is it?" I asked cautiously. "About 3 minutes," she answered. "I'll drive. I'm used to it." After about 10 minutes of driving, I looked at her anxiously. "I thought you said it was 3 minutes away." She grinned. "This is a detour." We were back on the mountain road in fog like thick veils. Nothing could be worth this, I thought, but it was too late to turn back. We turned down a narrow track into a parking lot beside a little stone church. The fog was beginning to lift a little, and gray, watery sunshine was trying to peek through. Carolyn got out of the car, and I reluctantly followed. The path we followed was thick with old pine needles. Dark evergreens towered over us, and the mountain sloped sharply away to the right. Gradually, the peace and silence of the place began to relax my mind. Just then we turned a corner, and I gasped in amazement. From the top of the mountain, sloping down for several acres, across folds and valleys, between the trees and the bushes, following the terrain, were rivers of daffodils in radiant bloom, every hue of the color yellow, from the palest ivory to the deepest lemon to the most vivid salmon orange, blazed like a carpet before us. It looked as though the sun had tipped over and spilled gold in rivulets down the mountainside. At the center of this wild color cascaded a waterfall of purple hyacinth. Throughout the garden were little meditation platforms graced with barrels of coral-colored tulips. And, as if this bonanza of color were not enough, over the heads of the daffodils, western bluebirds darted and frolicked, their magenta breasts and sapphire wings like a flutter of jewels. A riot of questions filled my mind. Who created this beauty? Such a magnificent garden. Why? Why here, in this out-of-the-way place? How? As we approached the mountain home that stood in the center of the property, we saw a sign. Answers to the questions I know you are asking. The first answer was, one woman, 2 hands, 2 feet, and very little brain. The second one was, one at a time. The third started in 1958. As we drove back home, I was silent. I was so moved by what we had seen, I could scarcely speak. "She changed the world," I finally said, "one bulb at a time. Just think, she started almost 40 years ago, and the world is forever different and better because she did a little bit with consistent effort." The wonder of it would not let me go. Imagine if I had had a vision and had worked at it just a little bit every day for all those lost years. What might I have accomplished by now? Caroline looked at me sideways, smiling. "Start tomorrow," she said. "Better yet, start today."